Yep, just like the anime itself, I'm splitting my retrospective on Attack on Titan's final season into multiple parts. However, this isn't so much because it's a mighty ambitious project to tackle that would require endless hours of torturing my starving, underpaid editor who has not seen the sun since 2021.
I haven't eaten in months.
But mainly because I feel like it, and it's a good way to rake in views, considering the last one didn't do so well. Well, here's to finding a way to tie Godzilla or Ultraman to this somehow. Last time we left off on Attack on Titan, war crimes. Lots and lots of them. But to get you up to speed, just watch my other videos covering the anime, or better yet, just watch it. I mean, if you clicked on a video about part 2 of Attack on Titan's final season without any prior knowledge, 1, thank you for the click, I greatly appreciate it, and 2,
I think there might actually be something wrong with you.
just kidding, I love you. Now subscribe to me right now. So I already covered a lot of Season 4's production history in Part 1, as in Part 1 of my retrospective on Season 4, which specifically covers Part 1 of said season, not Season 1, as an Attack on Titan Season 1 from 2013, and not Season 1 of the final season, which would make it Part 1 of that season, which isn't to be confused with Attack on Titan Part 1, which would be the first of 2 live-action movies based on Attack on Titan. We clear? Okay, cool. What was I talking about again? So I already covered a lot of Season 4's production history in Part 1, but as a quick recap, WIT didn't want to do Attack on Titan anymore after Season 3, because production just sucked. So Production IG sought for a new anime studio to do the final season, which many of them said no, because the production would suck. Then finally, MAPPA, who was on the verge of becoming one of the biggest yet also rather infamous anime studios ever, said, sure, we'll do it. We'll make sure the production doesn't suck. And then production sucked harder than it ever did before. Hence why the scheduling and titling of the different parts of the final season of Attack on Titan has just been a mess, with major touches being done to the Blu-ray releases. Anyway, that's the gist of it, so let's go ahead and dive in. To start things off, I'm once again gonna talk about the opening. Now, every Attack on Titan opening has pretty much encapsulated the journey as we progressed. From the high energy revs from seasons 1 and 2's openings, the more soft and subdued yet somber nature of season 3 part 1's opening, the bombastic scale of season 3 part 2's opening, to the eerie atmosphere of season 4 part 1's opening. Each of these are tied to the narrative in some way, especially given their nicknames. So what does Season 4 Part 2's opening have to offer? One of the absolute sickest anime openings I've both seen and heard. God damn. When I first heard this opening, I knew I was gonna be in for something that was just incredible, cause dude, it's Attack on Titan and heavy fucking metal. On one hand, I wish we got something like this sooner, but I am also glad that it is at this point in the story we're being treated to something that evokes the sheer apocalyptic and brutal tone of this part of the story. I'll tell you right now, as soon as this song dropped on Spotify, I went ahead and maxed out on Deadlift. I even sang this shit at karaoke night, much to the contempt of my vocal cords. After finishing the Marley arc, we now enter the War for Paradis, with all factions converging into Shiganshina for control over the founding Titan inherited by Eren. Yeah, at this point, Shiganshina is just the anime equivalent of Rust, and it isn't long until the once peaceful home of our hero turned humanity's greatest enemy is turned into a battlefield that dictates the fate of the world and mankind as we know it. From the absolute brutality of the fight between Eren and Reiner with Porco at his side, to the dreadful siren-esque cries emitted from these battling behemoths, warships raining from the sky, as well as the use of stock Toho sound effects. Hey, I did it! I tied Godzilla to the video somehow. Now subscribe to me right now. These elements make for an epic and rather haunting set piece, further driving home the idea of war being nothing but a hellish landscape. By the way, remember when I mentioned that the mere meeting of Eren and Zeke could potentially lead to perhaps the biggest atrocity that could ever be inflicted onto the world? Well, Donkey Kong enters the ring and things start to seem only more hopeless, as both him and Eren are quite literally across from one another, meaning the rumbling could potentially trigger at any given moment. So now everyone really has to make sure the apocalypse doesn't happen, except for Flock. Thankfully, good old Curious George gets taken out, and things seem to be pretty good for now, right? Right?
Oh shit, here we go again.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Falco accidentally drank some of Zeke's spinal fluid back in the previous part in an attempt to defend Gabby from Niccolo, who found out she was responsible for Sasha's death. So yeah, Caesar isn't above endangering children, as long as it means he gets what he wants. After all, he is willing to euthanize an entire race of people, and now Falco looks like he just came straight out of Bob's Burgers, and Porco decides to flex on Reiner by sacrificing himself and saying he's better than him. God damn, what a way to go out. Truly the hater energy I aspire to have. And now with even more Titans, including one that looks like Saul Goodman running all over the place, as well as the Jaegerists gaining an upper hand, this makes for the perfect opportunity for Eren and Zeke to finally link up while the latter is down for the count right until... Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to my channel members and Patreon supporters. And whoa, wait, hold up here. What's happening? Are we in the Matrix right now? What's going on here? Eren's supposed to be dead, right? Right? Yeah, that doesn't actually happen because, well, it turns out, with the Eldians being descendants of Emir Fritz, if allowed by a direct descendant of the royal family, their consciousness and being enters a liminal space known as paths. Because Zeke is a direct descendant of the royal family, he has complete control over this dimension and therefore Emir Fritz, who has been doomed to serve the royal family for all eternity after death. But who is Emir Fritz? Well, she was the original founding Titan, and the first Titan for that matter, whose power had split into 8 more, which would trigger the Great Titan War. After her death, she has remained in paths doing the royal family's bidding and even creating more Titans. But seeing how fucked up all of this is, Eren rightfully refuses to join Zeke in his plot, which results in him getting imprisoned. As a means to inform Eren that this is the way, Zeke takes Eren back in time to when Grisha was the inheritor of the Attack Titan, suggesting that he has been brainwashed by his father and that by joining forces they can put an end to all of this suffering. Oh yeah, and it's certainly worth noting that inheritors of the Attack Titan can see into the future and become influenced by these distant memories that have yet to happen. Surely that won't develop into what is honestly one of the biggest and most outrageous plot twists of the century? And so, it is revealed that everything up until now was all Eren's doing the whole time. This entire time, while Zeke had thought he had Eren under his control, he fell into his trap. Eren is now in control of his own destiny, now being able to manipulate the past. And right then and there, after Hiroshi Tsuchida delivers one of the absolute greatest voice performances in recent years, the rumbling begins. Yeah, shit's fucked. The world is coming to an end, the Jaegerists have more control, and it's all up to the remnants of the Survey Corps and Marleyan renegades to regroup and try to come up with the slightest chance to put an end to all of this chaos. Oh yeah, Annie's back, and it turns out Levi's still alive, all busted up. Can you cut that out, Cole? All of this culminates into what is honestly perhaps one of the most grand and epically boring this entire show has to offer, where they all just sit around in a forest and talk. This is known as the infamous Forest episode, and it's gained that reputation due to the fact that nothing happens at all. And this is canon, by the way, not filler. It's in the manga. It happens. But you know what? That's a damn cool looking tree, I guess. Anyway, the real climax of this section happens at a port, where our heroes need to hijack an aircraft, or flying boat as they call it, afloat, that's being overseen by Jaegerist forces. Armin and Connie are sent to do the job, but run into familiar faces from Season 1, as things, well, for lack of a better term, go south. And before you know it, it all blows up into another bloody battle scene where Reiner and Annie tag team to paint the port red with actual neo-Nazis. We even get to see Falco's Titan form, and oh my god, that is just one of the coolest things ever. And I don't think I need to talk about Mikasa's killing spree. Like, goddamn, that's some hardcore shit right there. Thankfully, the Ozmobito come in to help our protagonist tow the float away as we get to see Flock finally bite the dust, or so we think. And probably the coolest death scene in this entire show. The moment where commanders Keith Shadis and Theo Magath properly introduce one another and make a sacrifice to help their allies succeed in their mission. Okay, I'm just gonna go off script for a moment and say, wow, that was such a badass way to evoke this idea of enemies setting aside their differences and coming together to achieve the same goal for the good of mankind. God, I feel like bench pressing right now. This scene, low-key, also had some Captain Gordon and Kumasaka energy to it. Ah, see? I did it again. Now subscribe to me right now. As our characters wind down after the battle, they begin to reflect on what's happened prior to these horrific events, being when they first landed in Marley and were exposed to the outside world around them, with Hanji thinking Akara was some sort of mechanical cow. But even during this time, something just felt off about Eren. Almost as if he was trying to dissociate himself from everything around him. I mean, you can't exactly blame him, considering at this point of the story, he's seen as mankind's greatest enemy, and it all leads to a pretty pivotal moment during these series of events. Mikasa finds Eren alone one night, who's been moved to tears. He tells her that the people outside the walls, outside Paradis, the people who want the Eldians dead so badly are just that. People, just like him and everyone else. Specifically, people who have been stripped of a future, and what comes off as a final method of affirmation. Eren asks Mikasa what he is to her, to which she replies, family. After everything they've endured and will endure, whatever challenge may come their way, and no matter what will happen between them, Mikasa will still see Eren as a part of her. And this is present throughout this entire season thus far. Even after Eren tells her to her face that he despises her. To Mikasa, nothing can change who Eren is in her eyes. Nothing can change her perception of him as a person deep inside. And then he goes off to be a hobo. Cutting back to the present, Eren in his founding Titan form continues to take the world through the rumbling. An entire army of colossal titans decimate everything in their path as the march of the giants is unwavering. This is it. We are in the endgame now. The battle for heaven and earth is about to begin. Oh, go fuck yourself! Alright. To be completely transparent here, this is Attack on Titan at its peak, and it does not let down. The way everything builds on top of one another and leads to the next with great suspense and tension, and how much the characters have developed up to this point, as well as the stakes of everything that's been going on, is true majesty. Just the way this all began as a simple revenge story with giant monsters in a near-apocalyptic setting, to one about corruption and conspiracy, and to one about war at its absolute worst, and how hatred and prejudice affect the people around us and the world at large, has got to make for one of the most legendary progressions to ever happen in recent media. Everyone talks about how Attack on Titan deserves to be in the same conversation as shows like Breaking Bad and Chernobyl, and as crazy as it sounds, I agree. This show is very special in not just the way I described, but just how many people it resonated with. It is at this point in the anime where Attack on Titan actually became one of, if not the most highly demanded TV show during season 4's run. Hell, ever since a new batch of episodes would start to air, streaming sites like Crunchyroll actually crashed. And the episodes wouldn't come out for like 5 or so hours after their initial airing. I think it's safe to say that, in many ways, Attack on Titan truly left a mark on modern media, but I can't quite get down to that just yet. Tune in next time, where I talk about Attack on Titan, the final season, final edition. Yes, that is the actual title of this finale. They're gaslighting you by calling it Attack on Titan, the final chapters. That's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I want to give a big shout out to my channel members and patrons, and if you like what you see, consider supporting the channel on Patreon, where you can get early access to videos and exclusive content. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh god damn, I forgot to mention Ultraman!